have a low math class, an average math class, and an advanced math class, all in that same grade level. They don't have that in Japan. Everybody's the same. They're the same level.
So if you're all learning the same material, what makes one school more prestigious than another?
Money and reputation.
All the title.
And sponsors. Some schools have affiliations with either a corporation that's really big, or their students get hired at major, popular places to get hired at, various jobs, or some of their students, maybe all their students go to Tokyo University, which is the #1 school in Japan. Which is actually a funny thing to mention. A little bit different. It has to do with higher education, not compulsory, but the public universities in Japan are the most prestigious, which would be opposite of here, where usually you think of private schools as the most prestigious. So it's actually opposite in Japan. They do have really prestigious private schools, but the top ones are Tokyo University, Kyoto University, these kinds of schools, and those are the national or imperial public universities. They also have some of the best funding because they're given money by the government, basically, where the private schools, you will be given some money, but it's not to the same extent. They have to have private donors and sponsors. So this relationship, senpai and kohai, that's, sort of commonplace of junior, senior, if it was translated. It's been around a long time. It comes from a Confucian nature and their background of respecting elders and elder people. So that doesn't mean just, that doesn't mean just age, but also in position. So a kohai and a senpai at a company, or, obviously you wouldn't call a brother senpai, kohai, you have different names for little brother, older brother, but that same dynamic exists. And even twins, which is why I put them here, qualify, because if you're older by a minute, you are the older brother. There is no even playing field. You're older or you're younger, you're a junior or you're a senior. Bullying. This has been worse in previous years and hasn't really changed in recent years, but it isn't talked about as much anymore because a lot of the government or organizations in schools don't feel as if they can do anything. Bullying is really crazy bad. They have everything from just general ostracism to silent treatment, extortion, exclusion, anything like that. You don't see it, obviously. Students aren't going to fist fight. They're going to be really quiet about it, and they have a big group mentality. If you're not one of the group, then you're not in the group, and that's a really big deal in Japan because they have that sort of unity mindset based out of the culture and the history. So it's been a severe problem. It has led to terrible things, as such high rates in student suicides. Particularly the highest two demographics of suicides in Japan were actually men in their 50s and middle school girls. Essentially those were the two largest demographics because they had different issues they were dealing with, such as one, for the young girls it was bullying in school and ostracism. For the older men it was actually a failing job and life aspects. So a little bit different, but same result. Again, if you just can't make it work, if you can't be part of the team, if you can't be in unity, then that really makes people ostracize you more. So it's a really serious thing in Japan. Japan does not, though, have the highest rate in the world. I think actually #1 is Greenland. Korea is higher by far. I think Japan is in the top 20. But it's been better. Things with bullying got worse. They got worse with the internet and the sort of anonymous nature, because then they can't find who's bullying. They can't see who the bully is. They can't identify them. And the school boards really don't put any money into finding out unless there's already been an incident where a student may have taken their life.
And that's when they care, and that's when they try to apologize, and then they do nothing.
Yeah, essentially, pretty much, yeah. Now, some schools are really good. Some schools have really strict policies. They say behave or get out, essentially. But some schools, it's about reputation again and what they look like to society. But in happier things, the school year. The school year in Japan starts in April. It starts in April. That's when you go to school. Everything's anew. You have the cherry blossoms. The cherry blossoms are a big symbol of new things, of life. And of course, they come out when everybody's first starting school in whatever grade level you're in, so they're really important. When you start school, you have an entrance ceremony. An entrance ceremony is generally when you have like a little badge and you're welcomed and you go through orientation, and a student has already been named your class president. So you already have a class president, you don't really vote one, and they make a big speech and whatnot. Usually the class president's a top performing student. That does happen. Some schools will vote a president in, but it's more common to just have a top performing student be the class president and give a speech for your welcoming ceremony. And then their peers will look to that student through their entire academic career at that school. So of course, cherry blossoms are really associated with that. May is pretty boring. May you just study. June and July, you have really hot weather. First you have rainy weather, and then you have hot weather. You're still in school. There is no summer. Not at this time. You do have sports tournaments. For example, if you're in a baseball club, the big qualifiers are in May, June, and then you have the major tournaments through June and July and the beginning of August, typically. And then August, so summer break. Summer break in Japan takes place in the last week of July to the third week of August, or just the month of August. So you have 1 month for summer. But you will have a winter break later, but 1 month of summer. Usually students go on vacation with family. They do always have summer homework. You have to have it done by the time you get back. You do have occasional firework breaks. Fireworks are really big, especially the little handheld ones for students. You have things like festivals, just going out with your friends, just making summer memories is a big theme that we see in media, but that's also very true for students. And then September and October, back to studying, you have practice exams. Practice exams start typically late October, so that's when practice exams again, you have the big exams coming up in the winter, like New Year winter, and the practice exams are that fall. Practice exams tell your teachers and tell your school how you will perform on the real thing. So it's a really big deal to do well in those exams, and they do base your grades off of that as well. But also in October you have Sports Day. Sports Day is a national but federal holiday. Everybody has to celebrate it. Sports Day is basically like our field day, but kind of crazy and fun. You celebrate good health, and you have competitions between the classes in, say, like the same grade or year. So you have like tug of rope, you have this thing where they try and grab things off of each other's head, or like they'll grab scarves, or they'll push each other off. You have kendo, so you have exhibitions for the established sports clubs. And so it's sort of honoring those who are in sports clubs, but also participating and saying, hey, I'm in good health, I'm going to do all these things with everybody. And okay, that was part of that. November is that study time again, because remember, practice exams are right around the corner. They're almost there. But you also have things you have to do in addition to studying, such as the Culture Festival. The Culture Festival is actually really cool. Again, this is something the government encourages all schools to do. Not all schools can do it. Some schools may not have enough money, or they just may be too small to actually have one. But the Culture Festival is a really big deal. It usually is more common with middle school and high school especially. Some elementary schools have them, not all of them. So this is where your class, your individual class, well, you see the stuff like haunted houses and themed cafes and just little fun things that if a visitor comes to your classroom, they can enjoy this activity that your class has made and worked on together. There are schools that have really big culture festivals. Waseda is a university, but they have high schools and middle schools associated with them. They have a lot of funding, so they will actually turn the whole grounds of the school into a culture festival for about 3 days typically. And you'll see various performances. So this is sports day, but they also do these types of activities on culture day as well. This is the human centipede. The good kind. Down they go. So we'll have more that are competing. It's always fun to watch. So the winning teams will compete against the highest teams, and they'll get a big class winner. When you win one of these, your class gets points, and the class with the most points wins the whole thing. You also can hear the drums in the background. Having drums at competitions are also really common. I'm pretty sure that's the only... Yeah. So here you have the winners. This is a lot of fun. It's a great way for them to sort of bond with each other as a class, but also, participate in good health and whatnot. So again, culture days and sports festivals, they'll generally go hand in hand. They'll be about 3 days. You'll have culture performances. This is a great time if you do have outside visitors, like parents, family, friends, people from other schools, students from other schools are really common. They'll come and you can actually earn money for your club this way if you're selling certain things like food or goods, or if you do have like a themed cafe, they'll have to pay for entrance. So this is one way for clubs to earn more money outside of what the student government, which is run by the school essentially, would give them. In the wintry months. The wintry months are exciting. You do get a break from you get a break for around Christmas, but you're still going to school around the days of Christmas. The break generally happens around New Year's because that's a big family holiday in Japan. New Year's is where you have time off from work and school. You go see family, you see relatives. You have to make the first temple visit of the year, so you go to a local temple. You have the thing where you can, I think I have that in here. Yeah, I have it in a minute. You can celebrate Christmas. Really quick on Christmas. Christmas is kind of like a commercial holiday in Japan. So the things to do on Christmas, get a Christmas cake, and you get a bucket of KFC. That's legit what you do. It's not just fried chicken. KFC. Has to be KFC. And the thing with the KFC is that you actually have to order your chicken in advance because so many people are ordering it. So pre-order that KFC for Christmas.
KFC is like high-end dining to them, though, isn't it?
It's more of a trend. It's not even high-end. High-end, there's like the really nice restaurants in Central
So
Tokyo.
schools actually had to pre-order KFC for their Christmas dinner?
Yeah. It's It's really hard to get it day of unless you happen to have a KFC that's not that busy. Maybe it doesn't serve a lot of people. Another thing to do around Christmas is go to karaoke with friends. So go to the karaoke rooms. But basically see friends, see family, and it's a big romantic holiday. So if you have a significant other, then you definitely have to spend it with them. It's almost expected, almost as much as Valentine's. And then wintry, this is what I was talking about before. You make your first visit of the year to the temple, usually around that day. Some people go at midnight or afterwards. That's pretty common. That's where temples and shrines get pretty packed, if it's like at 1 or 2 a.m. after New Year's. What you're seeing here is a rope, and it has a big wooden block on the bottom, and then this box has slots in the top, and you throw in money. And a lot of the money is coins until you get to the actual paper bills. But the coins are like 5 yen, 100 yen. 100 yen is like $1 for us. So just take our money, add 2 zeros, and that's essentially Japanese money. So you throw in your money. A 5 yen coin is gold, and it's a circle, and it has actually a square hole in the middle. And that's the luckiest coin. So some people just throw in a bunch of those or one of those. And so you throw in your money into the slots. It's a donation to the temple. And you grab the rope and you shake it, and there's a big fat bell at the top, like a jingle bell. So it shakes, it makes the bell sound, and then you make the 2 claps, which is supposed to get Shinto God's attention. And you make your prayer, and you do this thing. You just close your eyes, make your prayer, and then you're done. And you skitter off. So lots of people do this. They'll line up for a long ways to do this. You don't have to just do this at New Year's. This is just what you do typically at every temple visit. But at New Year's, it's super important because it's the first temple or shrine visit of the year. Also, what they're wearing, these are all furisode, I believe. Yeah, they are. Furisode are the long sleeve kimono. They are the most formal kind for young people. She also has... Yeah, that's one of the coats. This figure has pants underneath. The pants are called hakama, and you can actually wear a kimono, and you put the pants on over top of that. You'll see that in things like kyudo, which is the archery, or just in trend. It's really trendy for women to wear the pants over the kimono right now with the long sleeves. But these are super decorative. They're really nice. Like, this doesn't do it justice. Anime colors won't do it justice unless you have like high-end anime. But furisode have special dyeing techniques, hand dye techniques, shibori, which is a dyeing technique. There's a thing where they'll sew gold or silver cord into the design, so you actually have precious metals essentially in the kimono, and they'll be designed with certain flowers as well. This is a plum blossom, so a winter flower, plum blossom. This one's funny. This is sakura. That's a spring flower, so I don't know why they did that. I don't know, just aesthetic. Most of these are plum. This is very vague, but this is a chrysanthemum, another winter flower. So winter plants, all plants have a season. All plants even actually have a month in Japan. So you'll see chrysanthemum, ume, which are plum blossoms, bamboo, and then roses are associated with winter. Also pine trees are also affiliated with winter. So that's what you'll see. Whereas irises, grass, or natashiko look like sakura, but they have more points. Those are associated with the summer or the warmer months. So what you wear has meaning, and that has to do, so you wouldn't want to wear something in the spring, particularly for a New Year's visit, because it might be inappropriate. So you have to pay attention to that. Also, fur stoles are a big popular thing. They've been popular since 2005, I think. I mean, they've had them before, obviously, in the past, but they've gotten really trendy since 2005. So you'll see this kind of dress. And then, of course, you have people in coats and scarves. Totally normal. You can wear that. It's whatever. And then, exam hell. Shiken Jigoku. This is the national standardized exams for university entrances and admissions. Also, exams for getting into high school. If you're a middle school student, if you want to go to a certain high school, even a private high school, this is the same time. Exams come at the same time no matter what grade level you are, essentially. And it's important. It essentially, they emphasize that you see students, it's a visible change in society. You see students with their faces in a book, you see students in bookstores, you see students in cafes, kind of sometimes. You see students in, there are buildings designated kind of almost like study halls. They're generally part of Juku or the cram school, but you'll see them in the windows, just all of them, nose down, studying, highlighting, taking notes. Everybody's studying, except for those who aren't, and those who aren't are usually out and about doing things. But they're also the not the standard student sort of appearance. They may be doing something else. They may have other plans, but it is really important. And then also allergies and Valentine's Day, also super common around this time when spring starts to come around again, and you'll see everybody with the masks. Masks are really important in Japan. You need to wear a mask if you're sick. It's not, here it's, if you have a really seriously contagious disease and go to a hospital, they'll put a mask on you because they don't want anybody to get it. But I'll also see sometimes people here will wear them to prevent getting anything. But in Japan, it's common. You will see everybody wearing a mask when it comes to allergies or if they're sick. Not typically if they're afraid of getting something, only when they have something or it's allergies. But they have lots of different kinds of masks. They have really standard ones, but they also have special ones with designs. It's almost like it's a special print, flowers, characters, anything. They have a mask print of it. And I have heard that some people like to wear them as part of a trend, so it can be a fashion statement. Those are usually more obvious. They have a certain design. But also Valentine's. Valentine's Day is exceptionally important. You have to participate. If you have someone to participate in, if you don't, give chocolates to your family or your friends. It generally is only females doing Valentine's Day. There are some males who will participate, but the idea behind it is that women are supposed to give chocolate. Homemade is especially important. If you get store-bought, it's called obligatory chocolate, so it's an obligation to give that chocolate to somebody, usually a colleague or a friend or your dad, something like that. But homemade chocolate's super special, and of course you see some media tropes where there's a boy's locker stuffed full of Valentine's candy. It can be quite loaded. I knew one student who was a friend of my host brother's who was very popular. So he got maybe like 4 or 5, but not, 80.
Like a whole ball.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't have enough to make an avalanche. So it does happen. And then if you are returning feelings, you give people a gift on White Day, which takes place in March. White Day, they'll return by not usually giving chocolate, but maybe giving like
presents and candy.
Exactly, cute candy, like something flowery or sugary, not necessarily chocolate, because that's so associated with Valentine's. Barrettes, accessories.
Presents.
Exactly. I think I'm pretty sure someone I knew was a husband who gave his wife like tickets to an onsen for White Day. Things like that, just depending. And then March is graduation. So we've come full circle. March is when you graduate. That's when some of the cherry blossoms are coming out, but that's really early for them. They usually come out in April when you're starting the school year. But of course, anime always put cherry blossoms in there because it's Japan and cherry blossoms, they're important. They represent a lot. But you're seeing these sort of tubes. These hold their degrees. Typically, and that is really common. You will have a tube with a degree in it, whether you're from elementary school, you've just graduated, or graduating middle school, for whatever graduation you're having, you will get one of those little degrees or certificates. And that's about it. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Yeah.
So have you noticed a drop in the school populations because of the birth rate situation? A lot of
Yes.
then of closed schools and stuff like that?
Yes, there are many schools that are either having to close or they're actually having to merge with other schools. There is a decreased population in the youth population and a higher aged population.
Now, what do they do with the students that are need extra help, like special education, like dyslexic or autistic or something like that?
So there was a girl who lived in my neighborhood, and she actually had Down syndrome, but she was an active student. She went to a special school. They won't put those students in the same school with students who are doing extreme exam testing, for example, because they believe that they won't be able to keep up on the same level in the curriculum, so in classes and lessons. There are special schools designated for that. There are other sort of private schools that, these are very small private schools. They'll take all students, despite having a learning disability or not. And there's actually a really great book called Toto-chan by the Window. Or just look it up by Toto-chan. It's a really good book. It does take place during World War II, but it's a look at a school called Tomoe Gakuen, which was one of these types of the appearance of one of these types of schools. A private school. It was actually in train cars, which I thought was really cool. They had a sort of a Montessori kind of curriculum, and it was sort of the first appearance of these special schools in Japan that were private but gave students more free reign, and they weren't so vigorous in the testing. They do have schools like that. The girl I mentioned before, who's one of my neighbors, she was totally independent. She took the bus by herself. She did everything by herself, and she was expected to, like everybody else in society. There are organizations who help students with disabilities that are like mobile disabilities. That can also be very difficult for students because there are many schools, like the standard public schools, that are not accessible. So again, you find that you have special schools for students with those special needs. Japan in its own way almost keeps them separate, but also incorporates them like they expect them to be independent just like everybody else, which I thought was interesting. But when you get up to higher education level, that can also still be a problem if you're looking for a school with special needs. Any other questions? Anything at all?
So when the school year is at graduation, do they have a break between that and the restart?
Sometimes about a week. Not very long. Usually you'll see if you just graduated, then you'll start college maybe in like a week or two. It's not a very long break. Sometimes they can be back to back. It depends on the start and end dates of your actual school. There is some variation in there.
So the total breaks they get per year, is that less than what we get here?
Yeah, definitely. It's about 3 weeks to 4 weeks in the summer, and about the same 3 to 3 weeks in the winter around New Year's.
And you said that they typically are 5.5 days a week.
Yeah, they're about 5.5 days. That's trying to change. They're trying to change it, but we'll see how that goes.
How common is the practice of cutting off buttons on?
Okay, that was really common in like the 60s and 70s and somewhat in the 80s. And I think kind of in the 90s, but after about mid-90s, people thought it was old-fashioned. So now if you're like, here's my cuff button or here's my second button, they're kind of like, wow, you must have really traditional parents. You know, why do you think that's romantic? So it's cute. Some people might like it, but it's also seen as really old-fashioned.
Do they use, for discipline or punishment in schools, do they use corporal punishment at all?
It's so hard. Some schools still do, and they get in trouble for it if they're found out. Some schools, I don't know, I feel like some district boards turn a blind eye to it. It kind of depends on where you live. I feel like you're not going to see a ton of that in Tokyo, particularly. You might see it on some of the other prefectures. Corporal punishment, they have to be sneaky about it now if they want to do that. But no, you don't really see the holding the buckets full of water, you know, until your arms get tired. You don't really see that anymore. That's also another sort of old-fashioned idea. that was commonly practiced, but isn't so much anymore. Nowadays, they'll just try and make the students feel really bad. They'll guilt trip the students, basically. Yeah. Thank you for coming.